Chet, they made their run. You were able to, hold that off until the second half. But when they made it, what stood out to you about the way you responded to it?
Just not being surprised by it. Understanding that a good team with good players is going to make runs, and that's what they did in the second half. They were making shots, pushing the pace, and we had to adjust and respond to that. And in the end, we were able to do that.
How have you felt like your footwork, timing, everything has improved, kind of spacing off the ball, getting your feet behind the three-point line? It just seems like everything's so fluid for you to be able to get those pick and pops and then also attack off of them.
Yeah, just reading the game and what the game's given me and then making decisions based on that faster. The faster I can make the decision, the more time I have to execute it. So just trying to slow things down and be slow but play fast at the same time. So,
Chet, I know you came in with an idea of what the playoffs look like, but do you feel more comfortable this time around?
I feel like naturally with experience, if you take from experiences and learn from them, you find improvement through that. But I feel like this year's it's a whole new team that we're playing against. There's a whole new set of challenges, and we just have to continue to figure that out as the series goes on. We have a game 3 in Memphis, and we have to worry more about preparing for that than what we've done in the first 2.
And Hartenstein he got asked the other day about how the lineup with you is going, and he said that sort of a turning point was that you guys figured out who should be running out and who should be staying at the rim. Do you remember when that kind of flipped, and what has that sort of done for the lineup since then?
Yeah, it wasn't a single moment. There were a bunch of mistakes that we had to communicate through and then act on, and we're still not perfect. We're not connecting on 100% of plays, which you're crazy if you think you ever will. But we're both bought into playing together, figuring it out, being as good as we can be in those situations. And I think the biggest thing for me is just figuring out kind of how to play a different style when I'm out there with him. I'm playing more basically a wing spot compared to creating all the action and kind of setting everybody up. So I'm kind of out there just figuring out where to be aggressive, how to find my spots. And, I'm going to continue to get better at it over time. And, I think it's a lot of fun.
Chet, you were just talking about be slow but play fast. Obviously, pace against Memphis is such a big deal. It would seem to play out in fast break points, but have you sensed it playing out in other areas?
Yeah, I'd say even in the half court, we're moving the ball really fast. And, the ball can always get ahead of the defense in the air faster than it can with somebody dribbling, and we've done a really good job of that in the first 2 games of trusting each other, making the extra pass, making the next read, and trusting that the next guy is going to make the right play. And again, we haven't converted on 100% of them. We've had stretches where we miss some shots or make a couple wrong reads, but everybody's bought in, and everybody when somebody does make mistakes, everybody knows that it's with the right intentions, and we're able to live with that at the end of the day. And over time, we trust that it's going to work out in our favor more times than it doesn't.
At the same time, though, the fast break points have been very lopsided for you guys. You win by 19 and outscore them by 18 in fast break points. How much of a conversation was that heading into this series, and how have you seen it play out?
I'd say it's more of just trying to play to our identity. We try to find advantages in whatever situation we find ourselves in out there. And, again, it just comes down to trusting each other, trusting that if there's somebody up ahead of the play, that getting the ball up to them is going to lead to something good, and they're going to make the next right read, whether it's score, pass, whatever it might be. And, having that trust in each other allows you to play faster.
Chet, after the blowout in Game 1, what sort of mentality did you have to have there in that first quarter, expecting they were going to come out aggressive to win the first quarter like you guys did tonight?
Yeah, Coach does a lot of like philosophical teaching to us throughout the season. So whether we won or lost that game by however many points you pick, it was going to be the same mindset coming in. Game 1 doesn't matter. Once the ball tips up for Game 2, we got to execute and do what we need to do to put ourselves in a position to win Game 2. And now we're in that same situation for Game 3.
And then what have you seen from the guys in front of you, Lou, Kaysen, Caruso, and just the job they've done on Ja?
I don't even want to limit their impact to just guarding one player's, everything they do on every possession down, disrupting things, making things tough on everybody. We were talking about it on the bench. We would hate to play against our own defense. So, and a lot of that credit goes to them, disrupting the point of attack and, picking up high and just making things tough.
Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. Chet, you had 5 blocks and 1 foul. What goes into defending that way, like aggressively without fouling?
I'd say the biggest thing is trying to be in the right spot at the right time. When you're caught out of position, that's when you kind of get over leveraged, and then you end up in those situations where you have to foul. And then I'd also say part of it is, we're just at a point in the season where the game is a lot more physical, and they're not really calling ticky-tack stuff either way. Like a lot of times on the glass, they're getting away with stuff, boxing us out, and vice versa. So like. And I'm not saying there are fouls they should be calling. Like, I love the way they're calling the game. I'd love to play physical, and I'd say the biggest thing is timing the ball up so that when you do come down, it's kind of already out of their hands and there's no chance for a foul.
And you had 8 3-point attempts tonight. Is that a number that you'd like to get to, or would you like to have more 3-point attempts?
I mean, if the game gives me 8, I'd love to shoot 8. If it gives me 4 because they're not trying to let me shoot threes, then it gives me 4. You know what I mean? Whatever the game gives me, I'm trying to read that and take advantage of those situations.
Chet, Game 1 and Game 2, you've had double-digit rebound games. I don't think you've had maybe more 1 than 2 last year in the playoffs. I asked Mark in pregame about that, about sort of what's gone into it. He credited Hartenstein a lot of it, just helping with box outs, and said that's really unlocked you as a rebounder. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, let's give all the credit to Hart.
Yeah, Chet.
Shout out Hart.
My bad. Memphis' starters went 3 of 21 in the first quarter. What was the key to getting off to such a great start defensively, and how much do you sense that your team's length is making things tough for them?
Yeah, it's extremely important. We understood that they were going to come out aggressive, playing free, and, we had to match that and counter that. And, we didn't come out lacking any intensity or anything like that. We put in good prep for the game. We listened to what the coaches were telling us, and we went out there and tried to execute that to the best of our abilities. And, credit to them. They put together good stretches tonight, and we just have to continue to try and, make things as tough as possible all night long, not just out the gate.
Anybody else? Thank you, Chet.